Some of the alien designs in the new Acolyte trailer are pretty interesting. Master Soul tells the younglings to close their eyes, but this guy physically can't. It reminds me of the time Cad Bane told Cobb Vanth, "I'd be careful where I was sticking my nose, if I were you." But my favourite creature in the new clip has got to be the Noodle Slurper at the place that May, Amanda Stenberg's character, is about to fight Trinity. Master Indara. But honestly guys, I'm really pleased with the way the choreography looks in this sequence, spot on. It's amazing to see they put some time into the martial arts side of things, which was promised when the show was first announced. But returning to our favourite otherworldly patron from this establishment, doesn't he look like a tiny version of the Thalassirens from episode 8? The massive, controversial and rather disturbing creature that Luke gets his daily calcium from on Octo. Fresh from the teat. Given Leslye Headland crediting Rian Johnson for many of her creative decisions in this show, and in my full trailer breakdown I did point out several Last Jedi references, this has to be one of them. He seems so chill just having his lunch. I wonder if he's the kind of person to grab his bowl of noodles the minute the bar fight begins. I'm really hoping this show gives us an array of new aliens, because I do find some of the planetary designs and even some of the human costumes, while impressive, a bit repetitive, and clearly recycled and inspired by Andor and Kenobi. Oh, and by the way, it just dawned on me that Chewie's been underdressed this whole time. If you look at Kalnaka, that's the name of Yunosuo Tomo's new Wookiee Jedi, he's wearing Jedi robes. Even the likes of Gunji has a garment. And sure, there are tons of Wookiees who don't wear anything, but the fact Chewbacca walks around the galaxy with nothing but a bandolier just became hilarious. Now I want to explore a couple of theories, and the first one, I must emphasize, is rather light-hearted. There is the possibility they're making this kind of connection, but at the same time, don't take it too seriously, it's just a bit of fun. In the aforementioned scene where Master Soul tells the younglings at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant to close their eyes, he asks them, "Tell me, what comes into your mind?" The third youngling asserts, "Fire," and while on the surface it looks as though this is foreshadowing the dark side, some fans are convinced the youngling is having a vision of 100 years down the line of Order 66. She is envisioning the Jedi Temple burning and the destruction of the Jedi Order. It is certainly a possibility, but as I stated, it's very possible this youngling is May's sister, or May herself in a flashback. There is a lot we don't know, but imagine if on top of the dark side within herself, she is seeing a vision of the future, conjured up in a moment of clarity, foreshadowing what is to come. Jedi had visions like this all the time, and if this youngling was seeing this, then it can also be seen as a foreshadowing of a turn to the dark side. In Star Wars canon, but also in some of the late 90s Dark Horse comics, Jedi believed visions of the future were a dark side trap, and Yoda even warns Anakin in the prequel trilogy about the danger of premonitions. The truth is, when one sees the future through a vision, or at least a potential future, they can become consumed with the fear of those events transpiring and trying to stop them. Although the child's identity hasn't been confirmed to be May, this does make a lot of sense. And even if she's not having a false vision of Order 66, that fire that she sees is awakening an appetite within her that may lead her to turning to the dark side. Something else I noticed that was very interesting is that during this time period, some Jedi Masters are still using yellow lightsabers. And a couple of years ago, I did point out that Disney Star Wars loves these. They gave one to Rey, Asajj Ventress, tons of High Republic Jedi, and even Luke himself, between the events of Bespin in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. But in this series, 100 years before The Phantom Menace, they're also using yellow lightsabers, but by the time of Episode 1, they're scarce. We don't see them in the prequel trilogy, and this show needs to explain why. The lore surrounding this is kind of complicated in Star Wars canon, but in Legends, it's a bit more clear. We know the temple guards possessed yellow lightsabers, and they typically indicated a Jedi Sentinel, a Jedi who honoured his or her skills in the balance of combat and scholarly pursuits. As you guys may know, the Sentinels formed one of 3 schools of the Jedi Order, constituting a middle way between Consulars and Guardians. Consulars emphasize the power of diplomacy, whereas the Guardians put focus on fighting abilities, and Sentinels use the best of both. And out of universe, it's very simple. George Lucas originally intended Jedi to have blue lightsabers, and the bad guys, the Sith, to have red. Luke, of course, by the time of Episode 6 got a green one by accident of effects. The blue blade didn't show up well against the bright sky in Return of the Jedi, so they changed the colour. So in the prequels, he made the good guys have blue or green. And then of course Samuel L. Jackson was like, "Hey George, can Mace Windu, you know my character, have a purple one? And George said yes. And this show, The Acolyte in a way is kind of continuing their legacy, for Nestra has a purple lightsaber which is also a whip. But look, when it comes to lore surrounding yellow lightsabers, you can count on the High Republic and the Acolytes giving us a new version of canon, a new explanation. And I'm hoping they do address this, because for whatever reason, Disney canon loves yellow lightsabers, what can I say? Pablo Hidalgo, who's been at Lucasfilm for many years, he's written a lot of guidebooks, and he typically consults on a lot of these shows to kind of be consistent with the lore. Well, he explained, Kyber crystals used to make lightsabers start out colourless. The crystals only take on a colour once they've been gathered, and a bond between the saber's user and the crystal has been formed. There's even been an instance in which a yellow lightsaber was made from an unstable red crystal, and that was when Jedi Jaden Korr purified it, and the crystal turned yellow, granting him his third lightsaber. But the Acolyte has an opportunity to expand our Disney canon understanding of yellow lightsabers, and why they're so scarce in-universe by the time of Episode 1. There is an interesting Legends tidbit. About 1,000 years before the Phantom Menace, Darth Bane tricked the Sith Brotherhood into using a false ritual that killed all of them, and destroyed all the saber crystals on the planet of Ruusan, a planet in which most yellow saber crystals were found. They never grew back, so the Jedi stopped going to Ruusan and instead went to Ilum. In canon, there are a few instances later in the timeline of yellow crystals like in the Jedi games, so they weren't impossible to find. But the Acolyte, introducing yellow lightsabers as a very essential part of the Order at this time, needs to explain their absence by the time of the prequel trilogy. And it's really interesting because I asked you guys in the community tab, are you going to be watching the Acolyte in June? And what is your level of excitement? Quite a mixed response. I read through all of the comments, but the vast majority in our amazing Megaloran community are either excited or just waiting to see how it plays out, which is my position, but we've only had 2 minutes of footage. 35% say yes excited, 24% say yes hoping it's good, 20% say yes but no expectations / not sure what to expect, 11% might watch / undecided, and another 11 say no, will not watch. And reading through some comments here and elsewhere online, many fans have just lost trust in Disney, in their handling of the Star Wars brand. So for a lot of people, and I'm not just talking about those who are vocally very angry, there's apathy mixed in there as well. But share your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments down below, my dear friends, and if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.